Within the earth, from waters blue, fairies are whispering to me and to you.
Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there.
I'm Claire Casely, the fairy whisperer. In the air of sylvan nights, we'll find our way by fairy light. Fairies whisper throughout the land. It's time to walk hand in hand. To catch a fairy whisper, you have to listen closely. Listen with me. Welcome to the Fairy Whispering Podcast, where we explore connections between our world and the mystical world of fairies and nature spirits. I'm your host, Claire Casely. Before I introduce my guest, just a heads up that I've released another episode of What the Fairy Podcast, my sister podcast project to Fairy Whispering, which I co-host with Anastasia and Emma. This time the episode is all about fairy altars, what they are and how to create your own, as well as some of our usual conversational magical musings. It's available on all podcast platforms now. In today's episode, you're in for a real treat. Joining me is my dear friend Sally, an experienced dowser and wise woman who has held a lifelong belief in fairies. I visited Sally at her home, where she shared her captivating stories and profound experiences from her time living in Devon and exploring on Dartmoor, which is a place full of magic and mystery, and one that is also dear to my heart. Throughout our conversation, Sally shares some of her fascinating encounters, such as the time by the River Tean on Dartmoor, when she was invited to sit on a seemingly magical granite chair, surrounded by tiny beings working to restore her emotional balance. Sally explains that she could never find the stone chair again. This recalled the conversation I had with Emma in episode 36, Whisked Away by the Fae, about the place she and her friend were led to and could not find again, no matter how much they searched. Take a listen to that episode, which is a cracker. I've put the link in the description for this episode. Also, check out episode 1 of the podcast, Rhythm of the Universe, where I share my guest Stevie's experience of meeting with a rose fairy who offered Stevie comfort and solace and healing through extending spider web-like tendrils from her hands that attached to Stevie. And again, I'll attach a link in the description. Sally also describes her sighting of a little man standing on the hearth of her fireplace, who she feels was a pixie. These are the fairies native to the West Country of England. After Sally made a cheeky comment about the pixie cleaning her house, she was pixie-led. In the outro of the episode, I've included a story called Modilla and Podilla by William Crossing, who collected stories about pixies on Dartmoor. It's about a pixie that was witnessed by 3 women in a farmhouse, and he was standing by a fire doing a very strange ritual. I thought the story tied in nicely with Sally's sighting of a pixie in her home. I loved listening to Sally. We found so much common ground in our experiences and outlook, and her incredible tales remind us of the deeply intertwined relationship we share with the natural world and the supernatural. This episode promises to inspire you to discover the magic in your everyday life. Sally will also be returning in another episode closer to the winter solstice. This was an equally inspiring conversation to look forward to. Remember to follow the podcast on whichever platform you listen. And if you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe and like the video. You can email the podcast clairefairy@gmail.com, and I spell Claire Claire. So now get ready to be transported to the enchanting world of Dartmoor, where fairies and nature spirits await. Sally here today in her home on Dartmoor, and Sally's very kindly agreed to speak to me about her experiences with the little people, the fairies. Welcome, Sally.
Oh, thank you, Claire. Thank you for making the journey over here. Yes, I'm now an old lady in my 80s, but even as a child had a belief that there were really fairies at the bottom of the garden, and always felt that they were around somewhere, but that humanity has mocked them and driven them underground, if you like. But in more recent times, I have had one or two quite profound experiences with them.
When we start talking about fairies, the wind's picking up.
Shall I shut the front door? Because what's happening is everything's flapping.
That'd be wonderful, yes, I can, because I can hear it really.
It'll be a little bit hotter. Yes, well, it's like if you start communicating with trees, they'll start to communicate back.
Yes, yeah.
I'll shut the front door.
Okay.
Let's try that. See how that is.
It's really interesting whenever I start talking about fairies. Quite often the wind picks up.
Does it?
So have you noticed that?
Well, not so much with the fairies, but I've noticed it with. I'm like a lot of us. I love trees and I love communicating with anything in nature, but especially trees.
Yes.
And I can remember one day a long time ago, it was before I became a dowser as such, being at Glastonbury on, is it Witherall Hill? One of the hills, not Glastonbury Tor. Can't remember the name of it. Witherall, I think, or something like that. And we were quietly sort of sitting there meditating. And we sort of started to communicate with the wind, and there was no wind until we did that. And then this whoosh came through the trees. Oh, it was marvellous. It was a real sort of, yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've had sort of similar things with trees since. Where I lived in Coldridge, in mid-Devon, there was a beautiful line of trees going down the field, lovely walks all round Coldridge. And the oak tree, there was a little line of trees, and the oak tree was a real healer. Massive great tree. You could stand on that. It invited you. The tree said, it's okay, you can stand here. So put your back or front to the tree, and you could just feel whatever negativity was in you just going down into the earth. And I saw the tree again recently because I was over in Coldridge for an event, and I thought, I've just got to walk down and see my trees, ash trees and oak trees, and and I just said thank you to them. And one day, well, more than once, I've seen the spirit of the tree.
Oh, have you?
It's like a blue flame.
Wow.
It's just amazing. I don't see these things very often. And when I say see, I mean with the inner eye, the third eye.
Yes.
Not with the physical eyes. But if I close my eyes, I can sometimes see see things. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
So there's something about trees, and even as a child, I can remember we lived in near Southend-on-Sea in Essex, which I hated as a child. But opposite me was a bit of waste ground with trees, and I can remember one day some men coming along and cutting the trees down, and I was in tears, and I was only about 6 or 7.
Yes.
So there's some connection there that's always been there, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I think if we feel that connection with the place that we live in and with the landscape, those subtle
Yes.
realms,
Yes.
then yes, any changes like that, we respond to them, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. And nature spirits, I've always felt, you know, it sort of was made clearer when I met a wonderful group of women about, oh gosh, it's got to be 40 years ago now. They've all died sadly, but we were a little group that used to meet up for sort of healing and spiritual talks and all that sort of thing, you know, and meditation. We did that a long time ago.
Yes.
And when I first met one of the women, I first met her, she was a fairy. She had eyes like a fairy. You know how fairies' eyes are all dark, aren't they? There's you can't see any whites.
Yes.
And that was how she was. And she could see the little people in her garden.
Oh, really?
Yes. I sense that they're there, and I talk to them, and I talk to the plant, you know, as well. But for me, there is a behind every physical manifestation is spirit, and the fairy kingdom is a great part of that. So nature spirits for me are in every flower, in every tree, you know, in the water. They're dancing over the water.
Yes.
Yes. And so, yeah, I mean, I never really saw them as a child. Once or twice I've been aware of them in places. I thought, surely I wish I could see you. But there have been, as I say, 2 or 3 times when I have, again, seen them, but with the inner eye. Yes.
I'd love to hear about those.
Well, I think the first time was when I moved down to Devon. I split up from my husband and I came down to Devon with my 2 children. And my brother lived with us for a little while, and he's very psychic and very aware on that sort of level. And one day, I think we'd been out for a walk actually and picked up some wood or something. And we were sitting in our little sitting room, and he said, there's a little man standing on your hearth. And I sort of became slightly aware of him. This was a long time ago, about 40 years ago, 43 years ago. And I said, if I... mocking, really. I learnt my lesson, I'll tell you in a minute. I said, if I left some milk out for him, do you think he'd clean the house for me, you see?
Oh.
So we left it at that.
Yes.
The following day, I was supposed to meet my brother somewhere near Rockhampton, Folligate or somewhere. I can't remember why now. I think he was looking at a car or van or something he wanted to buy. And I said, I'll come and meet you. I couldn't travel with him. OK, he said. Could I find my way to Rockhampton from Coleridge? Dead easy. No, I got pixie-led. Absolutely know that little man standing in my hearth thought, I'm going to teach her a lesson. I never did meet up with Nick. I came home again. I said, I'm sorry. and from that day onwards, I'll treat them with great respect. That was my first sort of, you know. But then I have been aware of them, especially up on Dartmoor. Any places that, you know, Ireland, they're there. They're in all the remote, unspoilt, uncivilised, uncultivated places, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And
wild spirits.
I think the next time, which is really quite a profound time, again, it was before I learned how to be a dowser. But I think I've always been sort of quite sensitive to energies and, you know, different things.
Yeah.
And I'd walked up the River Tean on Dartmoor.
Yes.
And I must have been through some traumatic I've had quite a lot of trauma in my life. This was another one. I forget what it was now. And I was walking up the river, by the side of the river, and I'd stopped for a minute, and I suddenly realised I was being invited to sit down.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, okay. So I sat down, and there was a rock about that big, flat, with a back to it, and it was like a chair, like a throne.
Wow.
I was being invited to sit,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know why. Anyway, I followed what, I sat in this granite chair by the side of the river. The river was in front of me with trees, and the river was bubbling away, beautiful, lots of rocks and everything, sunny day. And I closed my eyes, and after a few minutes I began to see little tiny beings, quite small,
Yes.
flitting around me.
Mm.
And do you know that expression, looking through a glass darkly?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it comes from the Bible or from Shakespeare, but it doesn't matter. But that's what it was like, because there was a dark background, and these little beings were flying all around me, and I thought, what are they doing? They weren't insects.
Yes.
And I thought, what are they doing? And it was like they had little threads or ropes, and they were manipulating these. I thought, what are they doing?
Mm.
And it reminded me of Gulliver's Travels, where it was he went to Lilliput, didn't he? And he
Yes.
was lying down, and they tied him up with little ropes and things, didn't they? The Lilliputians.
Yes.
And I realised they weren't. These little creatures were little beings, little fairies.
Mm.
And I felt incredibly honoured. I mean, I had tears streaming down my face.
That's
And
amazing.
I said, what are you doing? And I realised what they were doing. They were untangling me. My aura was screwed up
Yes.
because I'd been through, another traumatic period. I was in quite a bad state. I mean, I was probably, angry and sad and, all those things. And what they were doing, they were disentangling me.
Wow.
I know, I feel quite emotional talking about it,
Yes.
because it was really profound, and I just said, oh, thank you, that is amazing. And they
beautiful.
went on doing it, and eventually that was it. I felt that they'd done their job, and I just said, thank you so much, that's amazing. And I did go away feeling a lot better. I really did. They did do something for me. And that part of the river where rivers are unspoilt and clean, you can, as I said earlier, you can almost see them dancing over the water,
Yes.
But the other interesting thing is, it's an area I know quite well, because having lived in where I am now as a child, I used to ride out over Dartmoor. I used to go to that river and that area quite a lot.
Yes.
I have been back there since. I've never been able to find that granite chair.
That's amazing,
Yes,
isn't it?
that is extraordinary. It must be there. I have been back and searched for it and thought, how did I have? Was it a time lapse? Did I go into another reality? I don't know. I can't explain it.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can't explain it. But it was absolutely wonderful. It was
Yes.
really profound, and I can remember being so grateful, because I have written one or two poems actually about them, because we forget. We forget to thank them, we forget to honour them, we forget to respect them, don't we?
Yes.
And we do think it's all nonsense. I don't mean you and me,
Yeah.
but I mean a lot
Yeah.
of people mostly say it's all nonsense. And
Yes.
it's not. There are so many different realms of reality.
There are.
We're just in one,
Yeah. Exactly.
and probably the densest.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. It's when, and I've spoken to a lot of people like the. I'm just going to move my phone. I'm just going to move my phone because I don't know whether it's interfering with my
sorry,
microphone.
what are you getting, Claire?
When you were talking about the little people,
Yes.
I was getting some interference on my phone.
Oh, was that something here, or do you think they're listening in?
I don't know.
Don't know.
It was strange that it was happening when you were talking about them. There was lots of little taps.
No.
Yes. Yeah, it was like,
How interesting.
that's why I was looking around thinking, where's that coming from?
And I've only got the cat, and he's very quiet. He's asleep somewhere, and that's not flapping out there.
No, it's amazing what I can hear. This microphone is very sensitive, and it's amazing what I can hear through here. So when you're talking, it's like it's energising the
ether.
That's what I can say. Yeah, it's almost like that. It's something's responding to what you're saying. That's how I'm interpreting it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's almost like confirmation.
Yes.
I had a reading this morning with a friend of mine, and she was talking about some things, and I was feeling in my heart, yes, that feels right. It was connected to fairies as well, and I've got these chimes in my bedroom, and she said something that I felt like, yes, that feels right, and the chimes tinged 3 times in a row.
Oh, I say.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
Did they? That's marvellous.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, coming back to your experience as you were describing it and the little beings flying around, it was almost like they were responding to that.
Yes.
It's like I see it's confirmation. Yeah.
Yes, I often get the sort of a certain feeling when there's what I call an inner knowing. And I don't want to, it's not an arrogant thing. I hope it doesn't sound arrogant, but it's something when you just know that's the truth.
Yes.
Yeah. A sort of confirmation of something. And I haven't had experiences like that since then. That was such a long time ago.
How did your life change after that? Because that seems like it was a crossroads.
Well, after I'd experienced them.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, how trauma or a long period of stress or illness or whatever it is almost forces you to stop or slow down with whatever you're doing and look inward, because you realise that you've got to make changes. So from my early childhood, which was quite traumatic, very difficult, through to various other things that happened, including the breakdown of my marriage, I think that sort of made me go inwards. And I think the other thing that's really helped me was taking up dowsing. I'd always been interested. Again, the first time I tried it, we lived in Kent actually when I was married, and we had to call in the water board to check where the water came into the house, you see, and the man jumped out of the van with some dowsing rods, and I was so fascinated. I said, "Oh, can I have a go?" And he said, "Yes, of course." Not a twitch, absolutely nothing. So obviously I wasn't in the right, space or whatever. So 20 years later, I moved down to Devon, and a local friend said, "Oh, by the way, I've got John and coming over to do a dowsing course on my land. Do you want to come?" And, "Oh, yes." This time I just took to it like a duck to water, and I think perhaps I was in a better state, or I don't know, I can't explain it.
Yes.
But that has really helped me to trust my inner sense of things. Yes. So, and it's a way of communicating with nature. If you're in the right, no, that sounds judgmental. The word right, doesn't it? I can't think of another one, but if you're in the right space, you're communicating with all that is all the time, but most of us are not, and I put myself in that category, because you get tied up with work or family or pressures of everyday living, and it's only, I've been away in my camper van a lot over the last sort of 20, 30 years, and gone to wonderful magical places like the Scottish Islands or Ireland or Wales or whatever, and I love remote places, and I love ancient sites. And so there's a connection there for me. And sometimes, for example, I can stand outside a stone circle, close my eyes, and ask to see, can I be shown? And they might show me a dark area, perhaps in a corner, or an area of the circle. And I think to myself, really? I get my dowsing rods out, and lo and behold, there is something different energetically about that part of the circle. So for me, the dowsing helps to confirm
Yeah.
something I'm thinking I'm seeing but don't quite trust. It helps me to trust my intuition.
Yes.
Because that's what's working,
Yes.
isn't it? It's what's working. And most of us shut it out because of our Western education and thinking. We block out the intuition. And you need it. You really need it. And it's always right.
It is always right.
Always right. I went against it 4 years. It got me into lots of trouble.
Yes. I've done
And
the
now
same
I think, hang on a minute, and now I'll listen to it. I may not act immediately. I might come back and find the pendulum, think, is this right? Yes, but it's also helped me with my communication with things. For example, gardening. Okay, I want to put a tree in somewhere. And I remember carrying, what was it I had, an apple tree or something? A crab apple tree, that's right. And I thought I knew where I wanted it planted, and I thought, hang on a minute, I think I better just check with the tree. So the tree was about 3 or 4 feet tall. So I had that in my left arm and a dowsing rod in the other, and I walked around the garden and I said to the tree, would you like to go here? No. Like to go there? No. After about 5 times I said to the tree, you are being fussy,
We are fussy, I think. I've had experience that.
Actually, in the end, it chose a really good spot and it's thriving.
Wow.
So, but that is because some people are dowsers without using any devices. A deviceless dowser, which is probably what you are with the fairies and possibly what I can be occasionally. But when I'm not in the right sort of space, as it were, then I find dowsing really helps. It helps me with the health issues, helps me with dowsing for earth energies, earth currents, all that sort of thing.
Yes.
Well, obviously for water, most people associate it with water. But I like working with archaeologists too. That's another whole interesting part of it.
Fascinating.
Yes. And I remember working with... Is it all right to rabbit on about
Yes,
this?
carry on. Yes,
Okay,
it's really interesting.
I belong to Devon Dowsers, and we were working with a group up in mid-Devon, a farmer, and the farmer's wife, I forget her name now, but they had a big field, and they knew one time there used to be buildings in it. When you couldn't see anything, all you could see was sort of a few lumps and bumps, and it was just grass. So they suggested we go over the ground. But it's fascinating because the rods will show you, or the pendulum, whatever you use, will show you where the buildings were, where the walls were, how thick the walls were, where the doors and windows were, how tall it was, what it was used for.
Yeah.
So that to me says everything still exists in another dimension.
Yes.
Nothing, we can't see it anymore. But it's still there in another dimension. And I know it probably doesn't make sense, but I can't think how else to explain it.
No, I mean, it's like the throne, isn't it, you found, which is, I find fascinating because I've spoken to other people. There's one guest especially who, she went into a different place with someone else, so it was confirmed by someone else. They both wandered into this place that they couldn't find again.
Oh, like the chair on the
Yes.
wall. Yes.
Yeah, so it is almost, so it is almost like perhaps if we're in the right state of mind,
That's a better phrase. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
we
You kind of align with it. You
Yeah.
align with this different vibratory rate.
yeah,
Something like that. Yes, a friend of mine had a time slip experience.
oh, did she?
He, actually.
Oh, he, yeah.
Extraordinary that was. So yes, and then going back to the archaeology thing, they went over the ground afterwards with their geophys and confirmed, I think, about 80% of the findings that the dowsers had found. So, I just find it, I still find it fascinating. I've been doing it now for, 30 plus years.
Yes.
But I'm still bowled over by it.
Yeah.
And it's a great privilege,
Yeah.
to be able to sort of... anyone can douse. I'm not particularly special, I'm not an expert, or I don't call myself that. But anyone can do it. And but again, it needs to be treated with great respect.
Yes.
Like anything, really. So I always ask, can I, may I, should I? And if I'm told no, I don't do it. So I sort of tune into the powers that be. Have you ever heard of Hamish Miller?
Yes, I have heard of him.
Well, I knew Hamish.
Yeah.
Bless him, he was
Did
such
you?
a lovely man.
Oh.
Yes, he took us as a group, dowsing several times. He he calls it the management. He always ask the management before we do. Right, okay. So,
Yeah.
yes. So yes, it's been very useful. And dowsing for health, dowsing to see if the food's okay for you or whatever, those things. And I actually haven't used it to see if I can locate fairies.
Oh,
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before, Claire.
I went on a witch walk a few years ago.
Oh,
That was fantastic.
I bet it was interesting, yes.
I think there are a couple of Devon dowsers on that, and they were dowsing for fairies by the river.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yes, they were around these rocks by the
Were they? How
river.
wonderful.
Yes.
I mean, you've made me think. Next time even in the garden, I kind of feel they're around because most things have flourished. I mean, it was a jungle when I came, and most things have flourished, and it's the plants themselves, and I always talk to them. I'm probably known as the mad old woman with the cat who talks to plants. I don't care anymore.
I don't know. I used to talk to my cats. I've had 2 cats, and
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, well, yes, I must not talk to myself. I do that quite a lot. But yes, I do think nature responds in the most extraordinary way, like you were talking about the wind and the breeze coming through, and I do think it does respond.
Yes.
If you're sending out love and positive thoughts,
Yes.
sound makes a difference and intention makes a difference. I did Morris dancing for a long time and only stopped because I became ill last autumn. But we were dancing up at Belston. Do you know Belston
yes.
on the Moor?
Yes.
One day, and I got a group of Devon dowsers to douse I think it's the Mary line that goes through Belston. Mary and Michael lines that cross Britain.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Hamish wrote about it.
Yeah.
So I got them to douse the line first, and then we danced on it. So of course there was music and
How wonderful.
all cheerful and happy and lovely.
Oh, wow.
And we doused the line again afterwards, and it had doubled in size.
That's amazing,
So
isn't it?
and I found this when I've been on my own, because the purpose of getting the camper van, I've got this little VW camper van, was to go to ancient sites and douse the earth energy currents.
Yes.
And I found that nearly everywhere I can find several lines, but you will find a line, you think, gosh, that's amazing, that's 8 feet wide, and you're working on it, and eventually it gets bigger and bigger, and the more people that work on it with good intent, I mean, it can get absolutely massive. So it's like it responds.
Yes.
The earth responds to you. It's a way of communicating with the earth mother.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. She's agreeing.
She's agreeing.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
and I found that to be very, very profound. I'll tell you about. Have you got time or not? Because there's another
Yes,
profound
that's
experience
fine.
before
Yes.
I was a dowser,
Yeah.
and this must have been also following something else. I walked up to Scorrel Circle, because we went there, didn't we?
Yes.
And I was
Amazing
still
place.
living over in Coldridge at the time, but I'd come over. I think it was midsummer solstice, but it was bucketing with rain, and I just felt I had to get out on the moor. So I drove over and I walked up to Scorrel, which I've known since I was a girl. I've always loved it, absolutely, horizontal rain, because the wind was blowing hooly.
I know what it's
Yes,
like.
midsummer's day. And I got to the circle, and there was nobody there, of course, because the weather was so awful. Perfect.
Yes.
So I stood in the middle, and I happened to have a crystal with me, and I just stood in the middle, and I just felt so much sadness for the damage we were doing to the planet. And I just remember sort of saying, I'm so sorry, what can I do? That sort of thing. And, I've been emotional telling you about this, but when I opened my eyes again, the storm was still raging, but not above the circle. There was a circle of blue light blue sky. Wow. Yes, and the sun came down. and shone a beam right down. I'm emotional telling you about it. It was absolutely amazing. And it was like it had really heard me. You know, whatever it is or was, really heard me. So I stood there for a while and I again thanked them, whoever, and gradually the clouds came back and the circle of blue sky disappeared. Yeah, and I have had that with a friend of mine who's also very intuitive. We were walking down the same place again one day, and we had like a beam of light leading us down there from the sun. It was quite extraordinary.
Gosh.
Yes. So it's a very special place. They have such power, these places.
Yes.
And I think they link up with these earth energy currents. I remember standing at Scorrel one day and thinking, gosh, I can feel Delphi. Now, Delphi is in Greece, you know.
Yes.
And I have been there as a young woman. It's absolutely amazing. Even with loads of people around, you can feel that power. And I thought, yeah, there may well be an energetic line that goes all the way through from Scorrel across, oceans and land and goes down to Greece.
I wouldn't be surprised. It is such a, as you say, profoundly powerful place.
Yes. And the purpose, I don't profess to know the purpose of them, but it's something to do with harnessing the earth energy currents, I think. And a temple, it may have been a temple. I mean, the trouble is, archaeologists will say everything's a temple or it's a ritual or whatever. But I question that because I think they had a practical purpose as well.
Yes.
I don't think it was all airy-fairy, let's have another ritual, let's be religious. I don't think it's all about that. Some of them were, but I think some of them were not.
No.
I think they had a practical purpose originally.
Yes. I wonder if it's because one of the theories is that these places have an amazing power to them anyway, and so the stones harness that energy.
They do. There's a way of. I've got a lot of books on dowsing in my little office in there.
Yeah.
I've got one book that's called Needles of Stone.
That's it. I've got that.
So you've got that one. So you know that one. Yes, it's very interesting. If you're dowsing, for example, a stone circle or a stone row where the stones are missing, the rods will cross where the stones are, but they'll also cross where the stone used to be.
Oh, gosh.
But putting a stone is like acupuncture. Put the stone in and it earths it or grounds it. So was the energy there first? Or did mankind think, if we put a stone there, that will draw the energy to it? I haven't got the answer to that. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult. How do we? Yeah, we don't know.
No. Well, it's quite good not knowing the answers, isn't it? Because it stops you becoming arrogant. When sometimes Emma introduces me on one of her dowsing walks as an expert, and I say, no, I'm not an expert. I've been dowsing a long time, but there is so much more to learn.
Yes.
And I really, this is just one lifetime.
Yeah, well, same with me, with fairies.
Yes.
The more people I speak to, the less I know in a way, because...
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, the ideas, I think, oh gosh, I'd never thought that, or that matches with that person's experience, so what does that mean?
That's right. And I think there are different beings in the fairy world, the little people. I think there are pixies, there are elves, they're probably, the fairies, I think they're different species, if you like.
Yes.
Do you feel that? Or is
yes.
That
I do. With all the folklore stories as well, it's hard to say that it's all one type of fairy.
Yes, quite.
That's the difficulty I found with writing about pixies, because in Cornwall they talk about the little people, which are little people that look like us but dressed in colourful clothes. And then some people say the pixies are more sort of feral looking in a way, and that's the way I perceive them as, these little, as you say, dark-eyed, quite, they blend in with nature and they're not dressed in bright clothes. But then everyone has their own experience.
I think, yes, different people see different things, don't they?
Yeah.
But yes, the little man I was telling you about that was standing in the hearth that I was saying, hoped he'd do the housework for me, he would have been about 18 inches, 2 feet tall.
Yes.
And I have been aware once or twice up on Dartmoor of, I would say, a little person, and almost in the traditional clothing that you see depicted in children's fairy stories, for example, you know. But the little ones that were flying around me that day on the moor, they were much smaller. They were like little sprites. They were sort of dragonfly size, if you like, or even smaller. Even smaller. It does make you wonder, doesn't it, really?
I've spoken to a few people that have seen dragonfly-sized fairies. I've seen them.
Have you?
Yes, when I've been dropping off to sleep. I'd never experienced sprites like fairies before. This was a few years ago now, and it was in the summer. I think it was around summer solstice. And I was drifting off to sleep, and all of a sudden I saw all these they were like bright white light.
Yes, that's right.
Little beings.
Yes, bright white lights, that's it. Yes.
With wings.
Yes.
Just flying around in front of my third eye.
Ah.
And I thought, oh, thank you. So that type of fairy does exist.
Yes, until you experience it for yourself, I think it's very difficult to... Well, I think it's better to question and not believe everything you hear. I think, but when you experience it for yourself, then it becomes your truth, your reality. Yeah, doesn't it?
It did, because it's not something I thought. Oh, maybe that type is more made up for fairy tales, and fairies are really like that. And then when I had that experience, I thought, okay, well, there's room for all of them, really.
Oh, yes, of course there is. There is. Yes, yes. I've got an amazing book somewhere. I don't know whether it's in here. Is that it? Wild Signs? No, it's not that one. I have got 1 or 2 books on. And the author links the sightings of little people sometimes with extraterrestrials. I don't know whether you've come across that idea.
Yes.
And I read it with great fascination, but I keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure. But they're often described, some of the extraterrestrials that people have seen have been about 3 feet high and come and go. They don't seem to be in physical manifestation. They sort of suddenly appear and then they disappear again. So whether he's right, I have no idea. But I thought it was an interesting concept. I wondered if you'd come across it.
Yes, is that a Passport to Magone?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
I couldn't think. My memory's terrible now. Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
So you've read it. So
yeah.
Did you think there was a link? Do you think there's a?
I think fairies and extraterrestrials have a very different feeling about them. But I also think there's room for people to have interpreted fairies as extraterrestrials as well. I think there's a combination of things that in this era, perhaps post Roswell and all of that, people are more likely to see these little beings and say that
I think that's true. Yes, I think
ETs.
so. Yes. If you saw a little man standing in the garden, you could really see it with your physical eyes. You probably wouldn't immediately think, oh, that's an elf or a gnome. You probably would think, oh, where's the spaceship? You know?
Yes.
I keep looking, hoping I'll see one. Anyway, I do, seriously. Not that I haven't seen one yet. Well, that's another story. But yes, so that's an interesting concept, I thought.
Yes, it is.
But it's interesting in places like Ireland where they still build their houses so that they don't block the fairy lines.
Yeah.
Yes. So we might call them earth energy currents. They call them fairy lines. Mm-hmm. And they still are aware of that, and they they'll even chop the corner of a house if it's blocking a line, and they call them fairy lines.
Yes.
And in Australia they call them song lines. So there is a kind of a link with the dowsing and the fairies, I think, and the little people.
Yes.
And in China, their feng shui is about not. They don't say they're blocking fairy lines, but they talk about feng shui and blocking the energy. But there does seem to be a global appreciation or understanding of earth energy currents and the link with the little people. I think there is a link.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I think there's a link with them and other otherworldly beings.
Yes,
that come in and out.
Yes. I've been very lucky to have those experiences I've had, but I've not had anything quite as profound as that for a good many years. But then perhaps I've not been in the right sort of space, as it were, you know.
Yeah, I think, as you say, we get caught up naturally with our lives, with challenges, and it's only when we perhaps listen to our intuition, like you did that day when you went and found that throne, that we have these experiences, because we
don't allow ourselves time, do we?
No.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
running around.
Yeah, running around like headless chicken. Well, I do, like a headless chicken, although I don't at the moment. But yes, I think that's partly it, isn't it? It's when you stop and really just tune into the place. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Just stop and tune into a place, you know. Sometimes I'll sit somewhere and just do a sketch, and that helps me to sort of really slow down, tune in, you know, get the feel of the place.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many beautiful places in this part of the moor as well, isn't
Yes,
there?
we're very lucky, really. I mean,
Yeah.
Devon and Cornwall, you know, they've got some magical places. They really have. I mean, we're of all sorts of different realities,
Yeah.
you know. I was thinking of Tintagel and Merlin's cave. I'm sure Merlin still lives in that cave. You know. Have you been there? To Tintagel?
I've been to Tintagel. I haven't been to the cave yet.
Yeah.
No, I need to do that.
I think there are so many different realities, and we're just in as I say, in one of them, you know. But they all exist. They all exist. Yeah. So I don't think I've got any more sort of fairy experiences that I can think of. Just the awareness, I think, has been there. I used to tell my children when they were little, now if you go down to the bottom of the garden, you know, there'll be little people there, and take them up to Dartmoor and say the same thing, you know.
That's wonderful, Sally.
Well, I think it's a shame when these things aren't appreciated and they're sort of poo-pooed. I think it's sad.
So
People say, oh, it's just imagination, but actually, what is imagination and where does it come from?
Exactly.
So when you pick up something in your mind, is it actually your thought, or is it something that's actually out there in the great, you know, all that is, and you're picking it up? I don't know which comes first, chicken or egg.
No.
You know. That's another profound existential question that we don't know the answer to.
We don't know the answer to. It's fun talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, Sally, today.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I've
Nice
really
to talk to you,
enjoyed
Claire.
speaking to you.
Thank you.
It was such a lovely treat to visit Sally in her home on Dartmoor and to hear her wonderful stories. I hope you've enjoyed them too. During our conversation, we talked about how humanity has, in many ways, pushed the fairies and other magical creatures underground, and how important it is for us to respect and honour them, and that the fairy realm is an essential part of this intricate web of life. I feel really blessed to be able to present these stories to you and to be on this journey. And I'm finding that the further I go along into the world of fairies with my work, the less I know about their true nature. I only get glimmers, and then those ideas are challenged or turned over with the next person that I speak to. I've learnt that it's best to release the ego and any preconceived ideas about them, None of us can know the absolute nature of fairies or everything about them. They are a mystery, and I think they should remain so. For it is the mystery that engages us with the natural world and draws us out into it to engage with our true selves. Perhaps fairies are part of our higher self. Perhaps they are part of the wider consciousness. Maybe they are the beings that people think are extraterrestrials. There are so many theories about fairies, and it's an endlessly fascinating topic that I really relish and enjoy. And speaking with guests like Sally is such a humble reminder for all of us to cultivate curiosity and remain open to the mysteries that surround us. Also to be led by our hearts and intuition, for this is the key to experiencing the gifts that the world of fairies can bring into our everyday lives. This is the story of Modilla and Podilla by William Crossing, from his book Tales of the Dartmoor Pixies from 1890. This is one of my favourite sources of pixie stories, and this is one of my favourite stories from the book. I've chosen this story because it relates to Sally's story of seeing a little man by the hearth place. And pixies are known to enjoy being near fires, similar to brownies who are known in other parts of the country, and there are other types of fairies as well in Europe who are known to like standing by the fire and watching joints of beef roast on the fire. They see this as their reward for helping with the housework. Warming themselves by the fire is a way of reaping their payment for the help that they've given to the household. And just a note about hearth places: they are regarded as liminal spaces in the home where spirits can easily enter and leave the house. This is the reason why in old houses items such as shoes or mummified cats were kept as protection behind chimney breasts, and also witch marks were carved into the wooden lintel of fireplaces in some houses too, to keep away witches and demons. One winter evening, the female inmates of a lonely farmhouse on the borders of the moor near Brent were seated at the large kitchen table, busily engaged in preparing some good things for supper, for they were about to celebrate some family festival. A huge joint was slowly turning on the spit before the fire, and a most appetizing odour pervaded the apartment. The work was going forward briskly, the women being intent upon their employment, when the door was pushed gently open and a little figure made its appearance. The occupants of the room remained perfectly silent, watching with a great degree of curiosity the actions of the intruding pixie, who was a slim little fellow, clad in tight pantaloons and a neat jacket of green. He approached the hearth and looked closely at the joint of meat revolving on the spit, and then, as if satisfied with his examination, turned away and commenced to scrutinize the various objects within the chimney corner. At length he stood up before the fire and, plucking a single hair out of his head, let it fall into the blaze. This he repeated a number of times, but in a very slow and deliberate manner. the women looking on, quite at a loss to understand the meaning of so strange a proceeding. It was evident that the pixie was unaware of their presence, and quite at ease, he continued his hair pulling before the fire. In the midst of this, a tiny voice was heard, calling from without in a tone of warning, as though danger was near. "Modilla! Modilla!" The pixie started and instantly cried out, "Podilla! Podilla!" "Modilla!" repeated the voice, this time in a very peremptory manner. "Podilla!" responded the elf by the fire, and instantly darted through the doorway. The women rose and rushed out after him, but the pixie was nowhere to be seen, though the outer door was securely fastened. His companion without had by some means become aware of the presence of people in the kitchen, and had at once called him away from a spot where he was likely to run into danger. Thank you for listening, and see you next time. Goodbye for now.